Hello, my name is Swiss Bianco. In this video we will have a look at a used Heckler & Koch VP9 pistol. In Europe the same pistol is sold under the name SFP9. For whatever reason, for the sale in USA they did go with the VP name, and then the number of the caliber, either a VP9 or VP40. The same pistol was made in 40 Smith & Wesson too. It did start back then in 2014. 40 Smith & Wesson was still in the hype, and for now, of course, the 9mm variation did take over the market, and in 2020 they did upgrade the pistol. The magazine got higher capacity. We have here basically a Glock 17 size pistol, and the original magazine did only hold 15 rounds. That I did look at as a negative point back then in 2014 as that came on the market, and in 2020 that got upgraded to 17 rounds, so basically that you have the same like with a Glock 17 how it should have been before. So this is the model, the old model, made in the first year of production, 2014. We see that on the manufacturing code, and we want to have a look quick how that original version looks like. So the item here in USA got delivered with a typical Heckler & Koch box with the logo on it, some information on the side of it. Inside the case, the box is actually lockable. We have here a hole and there one, so you can lock it up. Then as we open it up, we have two pieces of foam, the pyramid one and the flat one that is really nice cutted into the material. It's all really clean and well made. We have here a part that is cutted, but it's not taken out for the magazine loader. They did offer or still offer a simple magazine loader in, say, the Glock style, you know, just a push down plastic piece. But it wasn't included in the set. Most of the Heckler & Koch firearms are relatively high priced, unfortunately. That was always the case, and they did not deliver much of the accessories with them at all. But what we have here are basically three back straps. One is mounted. Those back straps are interchangeable by simply taking out the metal tension pin that is in the pistol that also forms the lanyard. And we have a nice texturing, so you can change the back straps, so that did come with it. And also in this model you can change the side panels too, so you get again some parts to switch. We have total three different sizes: small, medium and large, and that on either the back and both sides, so you can adjust the size of the grip relatively well. You can go, just as an example, you can put the small side panels on and the large back strap if you have rather big hands, but of course you can also put the large side panels on and the small back strap if you want to do that. There is pretty much everything possible, and it's relatively easy to swap as well. Then we have 2 magazines, again in this case 15 rounds, original made in Germany steel magazines. One is in the gun, and of course we have the gun itself. Then on top that part comes out, and then we have the Heckler & Koch manual. I'm not gonna go through the manual too much because it's online as a PDF and all that. The manual is relatively nicely done. Just 2 points we see here: the cocking aid, the charging aid, and the flush fitting inserts. There is the magazine loader that I did mention, and at the end of the manual we have the parts list, so we see all the parts with the number in case you need to order spare parts, or you are just technically interested like I am. So you see all the different parts in there, and really nice done, nice manual, at least that. Say the latest Beretta APX unfortunately doesn't come with a manual anymore, so that is for sure nice to have. Then as we take the item out, and of course it's empty, we see a typical slightly used pistol of this kind, basically like a German policeman would have carry it in their version, which is basically the same, just the trigger, the way the trigger works is a little bit different. So you have a heavier trigger pull and a longer travel of the trigger as well, but you have the typical paddle release here. That is unique there for that kind of design, a typical European thing. They also made a version with a traditional US style button. You can have that too. We see here is the manufacturing code, the year from Germany. The B is 1 and the E is 4, so 2014. Then the proof house sign, and of course DE for Deutschland, Germany. And we have quite modern features for 2014. We have already the front serrations on it. We have a loaded chamber indicator here. We see a little bit red, so once the pistol is loaded with a round in the chamber, this stands out a bit more, so you see a good portion of the red. We have the cocking aid part here. That was brand new, introduced back then with that pistol. Basically, I call it an ear that is standing out. So you have a bit more gripping surface and basically like a hand stop or a rest on that part. That works really well. It's a good idea, I would say. Unique for sure. If you don't like it, you can take it out. And also they sell filler parts that are just flat. I did never use that, but that is made too. To remove it, basically you need to remove the rear side, because those parts are just sliding up and down in the groove there, so relative easy to do. We have a polygon rifled barrel, really accurate, great quality item. This pistol was relative dirty in it, and it did clean beautifully after get soaked with the correct barrel fluid, so really nice. Keep in mind, because it's a polygon, you shouldn't use steel brushes or something like that. If you have a nylon brush, with correct fluid, cleaning fluid, that is great. And then you let it soak in, and then you wipe it out a couple times to loosen up the dirt, and then with a cleaning rod you can put some cotton swabs or paper through it, and that will clean out beautifully, because the polygon style bottle doesn't have sharp corners like a traditional rifled bottle, so the dirt, the grime, the powder fouling could not sit too much in those grooves, because there aren't any. Really nicely done. Then we have here a long lever for the slide release on the for left-handed people, because the thing is relatively long. You have a great leverage, so it's easy to use, and it works. Many times left-handed people have a problem using the left-hander slide release, that is really stiff or hard to manipulate, and because we have quite a leverage, because it's that long, that works out really beautiful. As we go to the grip, it has a nice texturing, like some Walther pistols. Texturing, the rounding off of the grip is really nicely done too, fits great, and with all the adjustability that I did tell, you can put that together how you need it. For my size, I did put it on a small, so we have the small back strap and the small side parts too. We have a good cutout here if you need to rip out the magazine, if you have ever gonna have a malfunction. Really nice too. Then we have the pin, tension pin that holds the back strap into its place, and that doubles as a lanyard hole or holder there, so you can put on a lanyard. That is one of the requirements for police and military pistols, that if needed you can put on a lanyard. As we look on top, we have a metal sight. It's fixed, not adjustable, and we see the standard version, how it was delivered, basically in a glow in the dark Superluminova version. So as we light it up, the thing glows. It's maybe a bit uneasy to see with the camera, but it glows really well for what it is. It's not a tritium, so it's not radioactive or low radioactive, all well. It's basically a glow-in-the-dark paint insert that they did. Again, 2020, as they did upgrade the pistol, that sight system was gone. They did use a different version with a blacked out rear sight because of the optics mount plate. This back then in 2014, of course, was not optics mount ready. Back then that was not a thing, a hype to have the optics cut ready pistols, but of course nowadays, I mean after 2020, they offered that model as well, so you can get a model that is optics ready, no problem at all, with also taller sights, and even for that original model you still get the tritium, the true tritium glow-in-the-dark night sights if you want to have that. Then we see that part here is polymer. Inside we see the striker, the rear end of the striker, which is in the cocked position right now. We see that red color is the indicator that the striker is cocked. Once you pull the trigger, it's gonna look relative dark black there. You can also get aftermarket plates, and they are really easy to change, similar to a Glock in design. You can get the aftermarket plates out of different materials, also metal with or without the hole. So if you say you would not like to have the hole and don't care to see if it's cocked or not, you can also get such aftermarket parts. Then, as we look at the front of it, nothing too much special there either. We have a good leverage slide release, not too bulky, not too big, not too much standing out in the way, so accidental release shouldn't be a problem. Then we have here the disassembly lever, typical function, I would say, like by a older 6-hour, the 220 design. You basically open the slide with the slide lock in the you lock it in the open position, then you switch that down and then you can disassemble the item. We see there is a bit wear on the disassembly lever, quite likely from the holster. Maybe that item got carried a bit with the holster. The slide wear is minimal, there is not much on it, but we see here, I don't know if that was a laser engraving or what the heck it was, CWG. If you see that, it's fading, and it did clean off quite a bit too there, but apparently somebody had to engrave that thing with a name, or I mean initials or whatever. So yeah. Then we have the big rail here, so you can mount flashlights and lasers, no problem at all. And because of the metal chassis that is in it, that is not removable. It's basically the whole frame injection molded over the stainless looking parts of the rails, and all that goes in front too. So back in the day, like with Glock, minimal metal in it, they had problems with flexibility of the rail. So Heckler & Koch did mitigate that by using more metal here in front. So this works even with heavier lights and lasers really well. Again, we have that cocking aid. This one we see got a bit damaged. After all, it's only polymer, so I don't know if it's holster wear or if that did grind down there. So I did order a replacement part, about $4, and again you need to move the sides over to the left just a little bit, that sliding action can be performed, so that you can switch that part relatively easy. The trigger is polymer with a typical trigger safety that Glock and others did pioneer. The trigger on this one, because it's not a German police version, is really nice. It's not the best out there on the market, but the trigger pull is pretty light, and the reset relativ short too. Again, for the technische Richtlinie in Germany, the requirements for police firearms, they have a heavier trigger pull and a longer travel of the trigger for release the shot and for the reset as well. So that we here in USA we could maybe comprehend that with the New York trigger on the Glock back then, if you remember that. That was another thing that did pretty much fade away. The inside, the mainspring is a flat spring with a steel guide rod, so really well there too, really nicely done. The magazines are made in Germany. We see that here in front. They use a bit a special locking system, so you don't have the holes on the side as usual, but that that slot here with that dimple that stands out to lock the magazine. This is because you have basically a complete gun that you can use as a left-hander too. So you have the magazine release on the left side, the slide release, just the disassembly lever is only on the right side. And then we see here on the back side the holes. Magazines, by the way, are the same as the Heckler & Koch P30. The P30 came out earlier than the Volkspistole 9 or 40. It was basically the same gun, or a really similar gun, but hammer fired in mainly in a double action, single action configuration. And they did start with that to make it a striker fired like this one is, and the magazine are interchangeable. So again 15 rounds in this version, and we see the typical German zigzag magazine pattern, so the stamping goes all over in the zigzag version and get welded there, and that is not necessarily needed for stability and all that. Sig Sauer did do that too for a while, and nowadays most all magazines have just a straight weld, but it's just a quality feature. It's amazing. That's maybe why those magazines are relatively expensive next to German made, unfortunately, but that is how that is. We have a black coating that wears relatively well. We have here somewhere where the magazine locking part slips over, but you see that still not a blank metal. It still has some of the finish on it there. Really nice. Typical design with the typical locking plate inside, a spring and the follower. And you can also get retrofit kits from Heckler & Koch, which give you the necessary parts to upgrade to this magazine to 17 rounds, 2 more. Basically a new follower, a new spring, and then you can update those magazines yourself. Once those kits are in, I'm gonna quite likely make a video about it as well. It's a, yeah, I would not say too expensive and not cheap way to upgrade the magazine either, but at least you are then on 17 rounds instead of paying like $58 for a complete new magazine. You pay maybe like $15 for the upgrade. By now, as I said,